Lovely good day, everyone. I'm a little bit deranged still from yesterday, but I'm totally fine. So I thought I'd tell you another story out of my life, and I'm trying to be brief because I have my very personal November 9 story, and it has a very, very interesting bottom line. So I'm trying to be brief. I hope I can do that. When I was a kid, this is going to take long. When I was a kid, I loved comic books. Anytime we entered a supermarket, there was a shelf with the comic books. I was glued to that rack with the comic books. I read everything about superheroes and the Wild Wild West and everything. I loved comic books. And in Germany, I don't know if it's somewhere else the same. You had the possibility to send your address to the publishers of the comic books, and they would edit your address on the last page to get pen pals. So we were writing letters back and forth. And one day I found the courage to send my address to the publishers, and it really was edited one day in one comic book. I was very proud of that, and I received some nice pen pals, which didn't last very long. I mean, kids, but it was fun. One day I received a letter. Remember, this was late 70s and beginning of the 80s. I received a letter from the German Democratic Republic by this time, from East Germany. I got a letter from a girl my age, Maxi. What's her name? Is her name? Not was, but is. And she wrote to me, her aunt living in West Germany was smuggling one comic book to East Germany, which was extremely forbidden to smuggle anything like that has to do with books or publishing and everything. So she managed, and she really took took the risk to get caught by smuggling stuff into East Germany, and she smuggled that one comic book to my friend, then becoming friend, Maxi. And she read my name and she said, "This name sounds so interesting. I write to her." So one day, to my surprise, I received a letter from a girl my age from East Germany. And East Germany, just to remind you guys, this is 35 years ago since the falling of the Berlin Wall. But before that, this was a foreign country, far, far away, although it was on our border. It was nearly impossible to cross that border in each way. You needed permit, you needed visa. People were speaking our language, but we couldn't see each other, we couldn't greet each other. If we had to send parcels and stuff, we had to declare what's inside the parcel. So they were opened at the custom and they emptied out the parcels and they put everything back and they said yay or nay to send it on. Many parcels went missing. It was disastrous. You can't imagine. It was a foreign country to us because it was so locked up and it was so locked in with all the people in there. They had no, if you applied for a telephone, it took 25 years for people applying for a telephone to get a telephone. And then you had to be a part of the political party as well to get it at all, or a car or whatever. A car took 12 years. So just to imagine how what an incredible situation this was. To write with somebody who was basically stuck in the 50s, but being in the 80s or in late 70s. So it was really, really interesting to have an exchange with Maxi over the years. And of course, it was delicate to communicate because also some letters were opened, and we were basically communicating about sports because by that time I watched a lot of tennis later on, and she watched a lot of figure skating, ice figure skating. So we exchanged between Boris Becker and Kati Witt, our interests. It was very interesting. So this was allowed, and we had a very, very nice communication. We grew up together, writing letters to each other. I received a very nice Dresden Christmas cake, Christstollen it's called in German. Very great specialty and very hard to get. And she sent me every year, she sent me and my mom Dresdner Christstollen. Incredible. And I sent them packages with stuff they needed. I asked, "What do you need?" And she wrote back, "We need that." And, all this process started. And luckily, I think only once a parcel got lost in the custom. So we grew up together 3 years, and we reached. I started studying music, and she started studying herself something, I think biology. And then we came to 1989. And we had our weekly letter exchange, and all of a sudden, this exchange stopped. And I was worried because there was no phone to call. The letters weren't answered. I had no idea what's happening over there because there was the silent revolution or the revolution over there in East Germany happening, and I was totally confused what's happening there with my pen pal. And on a foggy November, it was a Sunday morning, I remember that, the phone rang at home, and I picked up. And I heard a voice I've never heard before. Hello, this is Maxi. I have fled over the Czech Republic. Just want to make you sure and you to know that I'm safe. I'm here in northern Bavaria in an army depot, and I'm fine. And don't worry, all is right. Of course, I was in shock. But then I knew because I saw all these pictures from people fleeing East Germany with nothing on but their clothes. They just had their clothes on and the purse because they weren't allowed to carry any luggage. They went illegally over the borders in Hungary and Czechoslovakia by that time, and it was really, really an adventure to flee. And she had nothing but a jogging suit and her passport. That's all she had, and she fled to Czechoslovakia because she couldn't maintain her studies because her professor was harassing her, and he said, if you don't agree to have a sexual relationship, I won't allow you to study. One of these things, it really happened. And she said, well, if I can't do that study, I can't do anything in East Germany. So she fled. She fled over the border, Czech Republic, and into Germany, and was in that army depot. And I said, hold the phone. Where are you? She told me. I said, I need 2 hours. I pick you up because I know all these people were fleeing. It was like 10,000s of people, men, women, little children, being desperate. And I knew there's a chance that she will simply drown in a flood of people over there. So within 2 hours, I was in that place. And within 10 minutes, I found her. We met each other for the first time in our lives. I'm having goosebumps. We met for the first time after having like 12 years or 10 years of communication just via letters. Met each other, and we hugged, we cried. I picked her up and we drove home. And she was so happy. You can't imagine. We were talking at home. We gave her 2 days to rest, my mom and I. And then we sat down, we talked. So now you're here, you're safe. How do you want to continue? My mom, especially, sat down with her 2 days, talking, searching. And then she came to the final thing that she wanted to become a nurse. That was her wish. So she stayed for a few more days, and then she sat into a train and moved to Hamburg, the Hamburg area, to become a nurse. And she started to picking up studies and became a nurse. Became a very successful nurse because she was the, how to say, chief nurse. I don't know the exact word. She was the chief nurse of a psychic ward in a hospital, which is very demanding, very physical and psychological demanding. And she was the chief nurse of that unit. And being that nurse, she was able to retire by 45. So right now, she has retired. She's my age. She's 54. She has been retired. She's retired. And she's living in the northeast of Germany. They have something like a lake district over there with nice lakes, nice landscape. She's living there in a house near a lake, and she's having a boat with her husband, with her beloved husband. She has a daughter. She has 2 grandchildren. She has a little dog. She's totally happy. bottom line, 10 minutes. Oh my God. Bottom line. Never, ever think that you don't have an impact on somebody else's life. Never think, no, you're not useless and you always have an impact on somebody else's life. I was 10 or 12 years old when I sent my address to their publishers. And it was a year-long wonderful exchange with somebody close but so far away. And in the end, I picked her up and touched her life, and she touched mine, to become a very successful person in her life. Never ever think that you're worthless, that you don't matter, and that you don't have any impact. Because you matter and everybody else does. We touch each other's lives. Easy as that. So this was my personal November 9 story, because we have this connection in Germany with the November 9. It's a very important date every year. So I want to tell you this story about me. I told it in German already on Facebook, but I think it's an interesting thing also for my English-speaking friends to know about this. I hope you enjoyed this story. Got longer, I'm sorry, apologize. Have a lovely day nonetheless. Enjoy your life and never forget that you matter.